Chicken and dumplings with more flavor that will not dissolve.
When I grew up, everybody I knew made chicken and dumplings with canned biscuits. They were cheap, they were inexpensive, everybody worked, and that was just a fast and easy way to do it. But have you seen the price of canned biscuits lately? And if you think about it, what are dumplings? They're really just basically boiled biscuits. So I thought, why not just make dumplings with my 3-ingredient biscuit recipe. Or if I had had some whipping cream, I would have just did the 2-ingredient biscuit recipe. But I like a little more flavor in my dumplings, so I'm going to add a teaspoon of poultry seasoning to this. Now, if that's not something you just really like, you could totally leave it out. If you don't have it, you can leave it out. But I just think this makes it a little bit better. Okay, now I'm going to cut in a 1/2 cup of butter, which is 1 stick. Now, when I grew up, I don't care what people made, they used shortening. And they also, so they didn't even really have to cut anything in since they were using shortening. But the newest way to cut in butter is to get it really cold or even freeze it and to grate it in. Okay, I'm just going to kind of stir this in with my fingers, just kind of break it up. And now to this, I've got 3/4 cup of milk poured up. Now I may just need 2/3, I might need the whole thing, I don't know. Now, if you did not want to use milk and you really want it to be original, you'd probably use your chicken broth for this. So you can do whichever you'd like. I'm going to mix this in until it has a good biscuit consistency. Looks like I'm going to need the whole thing. I've got some parchment paper put out to make cleanup easy. I'm going to add some flour to this. Just kind of spread it out a little. Okay, I'm going to get these, knead these 10 to 15 times. Make sure it's good and mixed in. And now it's just a matter of rolling them out. I'm just going to kind of mash them down. Necessarily have to have a rolling pin. Right now I've got a dowel that my husband had cut for me. I'm just going to roll this out. Normally for biscuits I wouldn't bother rolling them out. I would just pat them out. But because I'm making dumplings, I want them a little bit thinner. Well, really a lot thinner. I'm going to roll them out pretty thin. Now you could actually make drop biscuits out of this and just pinch them off and put them in your broth, but I'm kind of prejudiced against that because when I was a young wife, I was trying to impress some company that came over to make chicken and dumplings, and I used the Bisquick drop biscuit recipe. Now I had no idea that if you left your dumplings in there, they would dissolve. So all I had really was chicken and broth when my company came over. So I never make drop dumplings anymore. Okay, this isn't really straight and isn't really pretty, but all I'm going to do is cut these into strips. Really don't make them too big because I really want them to be a spoonful and not a mouthful. Okay, now I'm just going to put these aside and we'll get started on our broth.
Now I had previously cooked my chicken with carrots, onions, and celery. I cooled it down and deboned my chicken. Now optional, you can place the broth or stock you just made in the refrigerator and skim off part of the fat. Now optionally, if you're using store-bought broth or stock, saute some onions and carrots and celeries to add to your broth. Now you can watch my video on how to make the best chicken broth. I will also put a link at the end of the video, or you can scan this QR code. Now I place my chopped up chicken back in my pan along with the vegetables. Now how much chicken you want to use is up to you. Now if you're using store-bought stock or broth, you could use canned chicken or even roasted chicken. You may even decide to serve the chicken on the side or on top of the dumplings.
Okay, now you've got to have a fairly large pan, and I made a quart of my own chicken stock that I made, and then I added another quart of water. And so to this, I'm going to add 4 chicken bouillon cubes instead of additional salt. Now I did put salt in my broth when I cooked it, and you might want to just buy unsalted broth. But I'm going to add these 4 chicken bouillons cubes to it. It's just going to depend on how salty your chicken stock is to begin with, how much you would want to do. Now if you were in a really big hurry, you could actually just add chicken bouillon to straight water. I'm just going to kind of crumble those up. I like this new packaging they've got where they have this little strip tab that makes it a little bit easier to get these undone, and then just kind of crumble them in there. Now I've got this New Wave stove top that I'm using, and I can't really, it makes a lot of noise, so it's difficult to film while this thing is going. So I'll do the cooking part off camera. Now to this, I'm also going to add a half a tablespoon of poultry seasoning. Of course, you can adjust this to how you want it. I've seen some people put parsley in there. I just kind of made it parsley. And then I'm going to put maybe a teaspoon of black pepper. And of course, that's going to depend on how spicy you want it. If you're serving this to children, because they're certainly not going to want much black pepper in it. To stir this up, I'm going to get this going, bring it to a boil. Okay, now once your broth has come to a rolling boil, you want to start dropping your dumplings in there. You don't want to just throw the whole mess in at once. You want to just kind of throw them in there a little bit at a time. A crossbow you think's a little too big, just pinch it in half. It looks like your broth, the boiling is slowing down. You might want to hold up a little bit till it starts boiling again. Sometimes you might need to kind of push some of them down with a spoon. You don't want to stir it, just push them down. Okay, make sure all my dumplings are wet. Now
You're going to turn down your heat and let this simmer uncovered for 10 minutes. Optional, you can add a cup of frozen green peas. Now after trying many different recipes, my dumplings kept dissolving. After watching Kent Rollins, I discovered the problem was cooking them too long and covering the pan with a lid. Do not cover the pan with a lid.
okay, our 10 minutes is up. I'm going to give this a stir. But we're going to wait another 30 minutes before we try to eat it, because the soup part of it will thicken up, and besides it's way too hot to eat.
Now after letting it set for 30 minutes, if you think the broth is too thin, stir 2 tablespoons of cornstarch into a half a cup of water and stir into your chicken and dumplings to thicken them. Like, subscribe, and share so you don't miss any more of these easy to please homemade cooking recipes.